You're 8 years old in 19th century Kyoto, your hands submerged in cold water as you help your mother wash rice. Steam from the cooking pot curls into the air. Smelling faintly of barley and home, that's when the sliding door opens. A woman steps inside. Tall, graceful. Wrapped in silk so luminous it catches every flicker of light like ripples on a pond. Her face is painted porcelain white, her lips a perfect slash of crimson. She doesn't smile. She studies you the way a jeweler tilts a rare stone, turning it slowly to catch every angle. Your father doesn't speak. He just nods once, a small, final movement. Coins are heavy, metallic and drop into his calloused palm with a sound far louder than it should be. You look from him to your mother, searching for explanation, but her gaze stays fixed on the wet rice grains in her hands. And just like that, you're no longer your parents' daughter. You belong to the ukiyo of the geisha house. No one asks if you want to go. In this world, a child's opinion is worth less than yesterday's tea, cold and forgotten in its cup. Somewhere deep inside, you already know you've just been traded, and whatever life waits for you beyond that door, it won't belong to you. The ukiyo is not a home, it's a labyrinth. Paper walls that let sound slip but keep secrets in, tatami corridors that smell faintly of cedar and ink, and voices always just out of sight, always just out of reach, whispering like the wind slipping through bamboo. Women pass you without slowing, their silk sleeves brushing the air like moth wings, their hair towers above them. Lacquered and pinned with ornaments that could double as weapons. They don't look at you, not yet. The first thing you learn is your place. The house cat has a name. You do not. The cat may sleep wherever it pleases. You sleep where no one will trip over you. The cat gets scraps from the kitchen, you get nothing until your chores are done. You're told the rules, though not in a list. You learn them in bruises, in sharp words, in the weight of a disapproving stare. Do not laugh too loud. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not walk so heavily that the floorboards complain. And never, under any circumstance, be seen idling. While other children chase fireflies, you chase approval, darting from one task to the next in hopes that someone, anyone, might notice you for more than your mistakes. And one more thing, perhaps the most important lesson of all here in Kyoto: the women are not geisha. They are geiko. Say the wrong word, and you'll spend the rest of the night on your knees, scrubbing tatami until the straw glistens and your arms ache. You will learn the rules, or the rules will grind you down until there's nothing left to break. The day begins when the sky is still ink. You rise before the rooster, before the temple bell, before your body has any right to be awake. The first trial is the posture drill. A book heavy, cloth-bound, smelling faintly of dust, is placed on your head. You shuffle down the polished hall, steps so small they feel like they belong to someone else's legs. Drop the book, and there's no sharp rebuke. The senior Maiko simply sighs. That sigh is worse than any scolding. It tells you you've wasted her time, and time here is a precious currency. By midday, your spine is already plotting its revenge. But the afternoon belongs to music. You sit cross-legged before the shamisen, the three-stringed instrument that will become both your weapon and your chain. The plectrum feels awkward in your hand at first, and then painful. The strings bite into your fingertips until they blister, then harden, then split open again. Your teacher, a woman so old she might have trained your teacher as teacher, never misses a mistake. Her eyes narrow, her lips tighten, and if you stray even half a note, her folding fan snaps through the air with surgical precision, tapping your knuckles like a judge striking a gavel. You learn to play perfectly, not just to please her, but to avoid the sting of that fan. Evening brings no rest. Instead, you enter the theater of etiquette, a performance without an audience. You master 20 ways to pour sake without appearing eager, of a subtle tilt of the wrist, a pause in the right breath, a smile that says I am honored without whispering I am desperate. You memorize 30 ways to flatter a man without ever revealing that you know nothing about him. A compliment on the cut of his sleeves, the poise of his bow, the choice of his incense. And then comes the unending lesson: 1,000 ways to hide your true feelings. How to smile when you want to scream. How to bow when you'd rather run. How to be agreeable without ever being available. By night's end, your body aches, your fingers throb, and your mind feels scraped clean. But you will rise again before the ink fades from the sky because here, the training never stops. 14. Old enough to be noticed. Young enough to still wonder if you're ready. The announcement comes without fanfare. It's time for your debut. No smile, no ceremony. Just the blunt fact that from this moment on, the world will see you, but not as yourself. The preparations begin before dawn. You kneel as the makeup artist opens a small, lacquered box, each brush and pigment arranged with surgical precision. She dips her brush into white paste, so dense it clings like wet plaster. The first stroke across. Your cheek steals your skin's warmth. The next steals your breath. It's heavy and yielding. A mask that turns your face into porcelain. Your lips are painted last, a perfect red that demands stillness. Too wide and you look foolish. Too small and you look sullen. They say Geisha lips tell stories without speaking. You silently hope yours will learn quickly. Hair comes next, and unlike the senior Geisha, you don't get the mercy of a wig. This is your hair tugged, pulled, twisted, and pinned into a towering creation that could withstand a typhoon. Each pin slides in like a dagger with a personal vendetta. You name the worst one betrayer. Then comes the furusode, silk so heavy it could anchor you to the earth, leaves so long they whisper along the floor like restless ghosts. The patterns shimmer with every movement, a walking masterpiece you have to keep perfectly still. The final trial, the kobo sandals, 6 inches of lacquered wood beneath your feet, turning every step into a negotiation between grace and gravity. Fall. And you don't just embarrass yourself, you dishonor the house. When you finally step into your first tea house, the world tilts. Lantern light paints the room in gold. The air is thick with incense, and conversations hush just enough for your rival to register. Your once-in, your older sister in the art, leans in. Her voice is soft enough that only you hear it. You're not here to be real. You're here to be remembered. And in that moment, you understand the mask isn't just on your face. It's now part of who you are. The clients arrive like shifting seasons. Some are shy poets who speak as though every word costs them silver. Others are merchants with bellies full of sake and hands that forget where they belong. You learn their rhythms quickly, when to lean in, when to lean away, when to let silence speak louder than any compliment. The first rule your once-in teaches you: never give them the truth. If they ask your favorite color, you tell them the one they're wearing. If they ask where you're from, you answer with a story so lovely they forget it's not real. When their eyes linger too long, you change the subject with the grace of a bird changing flight midair. And then there's the drinking. You master the ancient art of drinking without drinking. The lips brush the rim of the sake cup. The liquid tilts toward you, and then, in a movement invisible to all but the gods, it disappears into a waiting potted plant, somewhere in Kyoto. There's a fern that's been perpetually drunk for decades, swaying gently in the corner of your favorite tea house. By 17, you've collected a library of laughs, each one tuned to the mood of the man you ray with. A sharp, bright laugh for the insecure merchant. A soft, indulgent laugh for the old poet. And sometimes, no laugh at all, just the smallest tilt of the head, a quiet signal that you are listening. Then comes the spring festival. The stage is polished cedar, the air thick with plum blossoms. You step forward in layers of silk so heavy they feel like armor. The shamisen begins, and the world falls away. Your fan opens one sharp snap, and suddenly you are not a girl on a stage. You are the wind through the trees. You are the shift from winter to spring. Each movement is a brushstroke painting a story the audience can feel in their bones. When the final note fades, there is a pause, and then applause, so thunderous it rattles inside your ribs. An old patron approaches, his eyes glassy not from drink, but from something softer. For a moment, he says, "You were the wind," and that's when you understand you're no longer learning the art, you've become it. By now, you've perfected the most important skill in your trade, not dancing, not pouring sake, but splitting yourself in two. There's the Geisha they see, silk-wrapped grace, laughter like music, eyes that promise a story you'll never tell. And then there's the woman you actually are, knees aching, shoulders locked, calculating how many cups of tea stand between you and the moment you can finally exhale. The ukiyo ledger is your shadow. It follows you everywhere. Every shamisen lesson, every silk obi, every hair ornament heavy enough to give you a permanent dent in your skull. Every pair of socks you wear once before they vanish into the laundry and somehow return as another line of debt. You enough to fund a small war. Maybe two. The day you dared to ask how long it would take to pay it off, the housemother laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes then cough for a full minute. She never answered. So you adapt. You learn to kneel and seize a 4 hours without losing circulation, shifting your weight so subtly that only the cat in the corner notices. You discover how to hide the twitch of a muscle from a smile so wide it hurts. Your body becomes a fortress where discomfort can enter but never be seen. In public, you are effortless grace. In private, you peel off the layers of silk-like armor, collapsing onto your futon with hairpins still stabbing your scalp because pulling them out takes more energy than you have left. It's a strange existence to be at the center of the room, lit like a painting, yet belong entirely to the ledger in someone else's drawer. A living treasure, who is also collateral. At 20, the red collar that marked you as a Maiko is replaced with white silk. It's a quiet change, no drums, no fireworks, but it feels like stepping into a new skin. You are no longer learning the game, you are playing it. Now, you choose your clients. You keep the ones who see the room as a place for stories, not transactions, who value the conversation over the conquest, the art over the access. The others, you pass them politely to newer Maiko, wrapped in smiles but already forgotten. Your calendar becomes a rhythm of seasons. In spring, you walk under cherry blossoms that fall like snow into your tea. Summer brings festivals where drums echo through the streets, and your fen becomes both ornament and shield against the heat. Autumn is moon viewing, where lanterns paint the night gold and every conversation feels slower, heavier. Winter is quiet gatherings, the silk thicker, the sake warmer, the laughter softer. With each passing year, your beauty stops shouting and starts whispering. It is not the bright flash of a falling star but the pull of the moon, constant, inescapable. Men lean forward without realizing it, drawn by something they can't name. At 24, the housemother assigns you a Maiko of your own. She's all elbows, quick blinks, and nervous hands, a mirror of your younger self. You watch her stumble through her first tea service, see her shoulders slump when she thinks no one is looking, and without planning it, you hear yourself say the same words you once told you: slow down, watch everything, listen more than you speak. The cycle turns, the game continues, and now, you're not just a player, you're shaping the next one. At 27, the ledger that's shadowed your entire life finally closes. The housemother lays it before you, the columns and rows that once defined your existence now stamped clean. No more interest. No more accidental expenses. The sake they pour that night tastes different, less like repayment, more like oxygen. But freedom, and Yoshiwara, is a relative term. You are no longer bound to the ukiyo, yet the world beyond its gates is smaller than you remember. Your name is already a brand. Anonymity is impossible. So you do what you've been trained to do. You build something beautiful out of limits. With your savings, you open a small tea house tucked away on a lantern-lit side street. No apprentices to train, no house politics to endure, no silent wars over hairpins. The elite find you anyway: daimyo, merchants, and poets who know the difference between novelty and legacy. Inside, the rules are yours. You serve the finest tea in Kyoto, pour sake only when it pleases you, and turn away any guest who mistakes you for company instead of an artist. The shamisen rests in the corner, its strings worn smooth by years of your touch, ready for when the mood calls for music. Your face still wears the white mask, but now it is yours to remove. Some nights, you leave it in its box and greet old friends barefaced, your hair unpinned, your laughter unrestrained. Those nights are rare, but they are yours, and they taste sweeter than the most expensive sake. In the floating world, no one truly escapes. But for the first time, you're not floating. You're steering. At 40, you hear it for the first time: she's one of the last. A tourist whispers to his friend, as if you're some rare flower preserved in glass. You smile politely, letting the myth settle between you. It's easier that way, easier than explaining that the floating world never truly vanished. It just learned to hide in plain sight. Because you know the truth. Somewhere, behind a paper screen in a quiet Okia, a girl is balancing a book on her head. Her arms ache from shamisen drills, her fingers are raw from calligraphy brushes. She's dreaming of the day someone will call her onsen, not knowing yet the cost of that word. Tonight, your tea house is empty, the lanterns have burned low. Their light spilling across the tatami in thin gold ribbons, you sit alone. Hairpins scattered across the vanity, white makeup melting at the edges. In the mirror, you catch a glimpse of the child who walked through these doors decades ago, scared, small, and sold to a life she couldn't name. You lean forward, speaking softly so only she can hear. We did all right, you tell her, and for the first time in years, you mean it without hesitation. If you've walked with me through this life from the clink of coins to the quiet of an empty tea house, then you know the floating world is more than history. Subscribe, because there are more lives you were never meant to live, but together, we will.